Hello everybody and welcome back to the F1 My Team Career Mode with me, Dan, and the Radiant Racing team as we come on to the final race of the week in Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix. Round 6 of 16, so we're approaching the halfway point already, can you believe it? And not long after the end of the season, we'll begin with Season 3 and then onto F1 22. I have some good news aside from some good results coming up in a moment in this race, which is that I've just unboxed a new racing wheel, which I will be showcasing on the channel because it is, of course, the SF1000 Ferrari replica wheel. So why not make a video on it? It's a few years old at this point, but you know, it's the SF1000 wheel. Don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you can see that unboxing video. And we'll get onto the starting grid as we see Radiant Slothz lines up on the front row, taking pole position ahead of rival Valtteri Bottas. Behind them, Lewis Hamilton, the 8-time world champion, alongside fellow Brit Lando Norris. Behind them, another rival of Radiant Slothz, Sergio Perez, lines up alongside Daniel Ricciardo. Then we have the two Ferraris of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. And finally, rounding out the top 10, we have Yuki Tsunoda and Zhou Guanyu, who's promoted by other penalties. The two Aston Martins of Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll line up alongside each other in 11th and 12th, followed by Esteban Ocon in the first Alpine and Antonio Giovinazzi. Then behind them we have Max Verstappen, the first of the drivers with penalties today, alongside George Russell in the Williams, followed by Mick Schumacher in the other Alfa Romeo and the other Williams driver of Nicolas Latifi. Then we have Pierre Gasly with some penalties as well in P19 alongside Christian Lundgaard. And finally on the back row we have Nikita Mazepin and Fernando Alonso with penalties. So it's quite possibly a career first pole position for Radiant Slothz, but can he convert it into a win today in Canada? We're about to find out as we get away. It was a slow start for him off the line, so it may not be great here. He's got Valtteri Bottas going around the outside of him into turn 1. He absolutely smashes it. And talking of smashing, there was a Ferrari going off all over the place back there, bits of front wing going all over the place. We have got a virtual safety car out for whatever the issue was back there, but let's go have a look at that in a moment. Yuki Tsunoda absolutely jumps up the field from P9 up to P5, but let's go on board with Radiant Slothz. Bogs down off the line, and on his right-hand side, we have the Mercedes come flying through. Absolutely no challenge for him there at all. And then the virtual safety car, of course, coming out, hindering any of his progress to get back past. And this was Yuki Tsunoda. We may get a view of the incident involving a Ferrari here, or not, as we just see him overtake a couple of cars and then absolutely fly down the inside of the rest of the pack, and then solidifies himself with the P5 as the virtual safety car comes out, keeping the position. This was Zhou Guanyu, who starts from the top 10 for the first time in his career. Unfortunately, not on merit though, just due to penalties from cars ahead of him. But he gets up the inside of a Ferrari, and yeah, there we go. Well, we see there was a Red Bull and a Ferrari involved in that incident, causing the Ferrari to lose his front wing. And unfortunately, due to the virtual safety car, Zhou Guanyu not able to go past Carlos Sainz or Charles Leclerc. We'll have to see who it is ahead. It must be Carlos Sainz ahead with the broken front wing. Sorry, Charles Leclerc with the broken front wing, because Carlos Sainz illegally overtook under the safety car. Not that that matters anymore anyway. We're just going to get on with the racing, and Zhou Guanyu is going to gain a position either way, because that Ferrari has to come into the pit lane. As we see Lewis Hamilton now taking a pop at Radiant Slothz, standing to the wall of champions. Manages to defend it. And there goes the Ferrari into the pits. That is Charles Leclerc. Zhou Guanyu up to P9 now. Promotes an Aston Martin up into the top 10. And Radiant Slothz continues in a podium position, but already 1.5 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas as a result of that competition with Hamilton. As we come down towards the DRS straight for the first time with DRS activated. Radiant Slothz put up a good fight, unable to break away from Hamilton completely. Hamilton is going to get DRS here, and he's already closing pretty rapidly as they come down towards the final two corners. Hamilton could get another dose here. He's now closed up 3 tenths since the start of the last straight. Now up to half a second behind Radiant Slothz. He's certainly got his work cut out for him if he's going to stay ahead here. Up to the end of the race. It is a long race. But we've rejoined a few laps later. Radiant Slothz out of nowhere has managed to close the gap up to Valtteri Bottas. He's now got DRS. And he's pursuing at a very, very small distance from the back of Valtteri Bottas. Lewis Hamilton, 1.5 seconds behind. So whatever he did over the last few laps has worked. And he's already trying to look to get round the outside of Bottas there before this DRS zone. Although he may have just lost downforce from being so close to the Mercedes. Going to get DRS down here towards the chicane, but it would be foolish to try and overtake here. Gets through that chicane. Going to have great drive down towards the hairpin, where he's going to get the DRS activation point again. And now he's going to be following Valtteri Bottas all the way down the back straight with the DRS open. Probably overtake on as well as we pass the 1/3 distance for the Canadian Grand Prix. Is he going to have a look down the inside? He's going to try it around the outside into the chicane, and he does manage to do it. Maybe a wheel over the white line, but the stewards have allowed it. Lewis Hamilton comes into the pits. He'll be hoping to try and get an undercut on these two. As they come around turn 1, it doesn't look as though we've had anyone. Oh, Daniel Ricciardo's in as well. He was fairly high up the order. Zhou Guanyu currently running in P6, so good result for him so far. He'll have to stay there. He's got his work cut out for him, but given that only 2 cars behind him are likely to get back in front after his pit stop, he's in with a good shout here, as long as he plays his cards right. Radiant Slothz still ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Ekes the gap out to 6 tenths, nearly 7 tenths. But he's not going to be able to do much here to defend from the Mercedes, who's going to get DRS on him almost immediately. He takes as much curb as possible.
Box, box, box.
It doesn't necessarily matter too much anyway, because he has got the call to come in. But of course he will be trying to make sure that Bottas just does get hindered as much as possible as he comes into the pits about 8 million miles an hour, pulling 16 billion G as he was instantly stopped by both Tsunoda up to the front and Sergio Perez. Zhou Guanyu now moves up into P3. He went through just now. And Radiant Slothz is out on his way, but where does he come out? There's Lewis Hamilton. And it's going to be a close one here, but he does manage to make it ahead of Hamilton by a second. That's crucial. It has dropped down slightly. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong number. It's 1.5 seconds to Lewis Hamilton now. But he has to clear Esteban Ocon and our old favourite on the channel, Antonio Giovinazzi, who has repeatedly got in the way of multiple drivers during the pit stop phase. Since the start of the career mode. Esteban Ocon not really featured too prominently other than one of the races in the previous season where he was running round at the front for a little while. And they come down into the hairpin. He's going to try and look around the outside of the Alpine. It's just not really helped him. Loses a little bit of traction there. Giovinazzi on the soft tyre is likely to be coming in very shortly, if not at the end of this lap. Esteban Ocon, though, looks as though he started on the medium tyre. That is going to mean he's going to stay out in the way. And although he's getting DRS, I doubt Radiant Slothz is particularly happy about being stuck behind the Alpine as he tries to look down the inside but doesn't have the straight line speed. He's going to look up the inside into turn 1 but gets completely cut up by the Alpine. Completely ruined him there. That is closed the gap back to Lewis Hamilton down to 1/4 of a second. As they come flying through up towards the next DRS zone, he's going to be wanting to get this move done as quickly as possible. Because if that Mercedes gets a double slipstream and DRS from him and Ocon, there's going to be a sitting duck back there. And still, Esteban Ocon remains in the way. Radiant Slothz not able to get past, and Hamilton just a 10th behind. He's going to look to the inside, going down towards the hairpin, does Lewis Hamilton. And he's going to get a good position against Esteban Ocon, who runs deep into the corner. Radiant Slothz nearly cuts the front wing off of Valtteri Bottas. As they come down the back straight, Lewis Hamilton forces his way alongside Esteban Ocon. Radiant Slothz just about gets enough room there as all three of them come flying down towards the final two corners. Radiant Slothz up the inside into the chicane, clips the curb and nearly spins the car around, and now everyone's bunching up because Esteban Ocon is still in the way. There's Valtteri Bottas getting past, Lando Norris getting past. Also, yes, maybe Radiant Slothz takes a swing at Valtteri Bottas, allows Lando Norris to draw alongside him in the battle for net P3. And Radiant Slothz goes all over the grass there as he's trying to stay within a second of Lewis Hamilton. He's certainly doing that. He's within 2 tenths a lot of the time. His front wing may as well be mated to the back of Hamilton's car at this point, given how close he's been all the way through as they come down towards the chicane. Lewis Hamilton not going to have the benefit of DRS or a slow Alpine this time. The Alpine of Esteban Ocon has actually dropped down several positions now and is shrinking into the distance as it was just molested by every car that went past it and cost it so much time on those worn medium tyres. But we come down the back straight. Lewis Hamilton under attack. We've got a Aston Martin coming into the pit lane ahead. That looks like Lance Stroll as Radiant Slothz goes round the outside into the chicane again, and he's managed to do it. He's going to get the DRS benefit here because he passed the detection zone behind Hamilton, and they go into turn 1, and that's the end of the eventful pit stop phase. Once Sebastian Vettel is cleared ahead, all of these three will be battling for the win, potentially 4 if you count Lando Norris. As we rejoin them now on lap 12, coming down towards the DRS straight. Zhou Guanyu still in the top 10. He's under attack from Lance Stroll, who came into the pits just a few laps ago, and is quite some distance away from Carlos Sainz as Radiant Slothz goes defensive on the straight, and Hamilton closes up even closer now. Nearly hits the wall there. Radiant Slothz, if he did hit that wall, maybe it's a sign of things to come. We'll have to see. Radiant Slothz goes around the outside to defend, and it's not enough. It looks as though he almost hit Valtteri Bottas again whilst trying to take that wide line through turn 2. And he's forced to sit on board the back of the Mercedes again. Lewis Hamilton, of course, not to be underestimated. Did a terrible job all of last season throughout the start up to the middle point, and then out of nowhere the Mercedes car and Lewis Hamilton just improved tenfold, and he was able to claw back a 5th place Drivers' Championship finish up to a championship win. So Lewis Hamilton should not be messed with, and he's clearly showing why. Mercedes dominant. Sources saying they have the best car on the grid by an absolute landslide. The only reason that Lando Norris is able to keep up at the moment is because that McLaren is so incredibly fast in a straight line around this circuit. But Radiant Slothz, he's got DRS, he's going to look to the inside, and Lewis Hamilton pushes him onto the grass there. A disgusting move from the 8-time world champion, forcing Radiant Slothz into the dirt as he tries to go around him. We're not going to get an onboard replay of that, but it would have been nice to have seen. As Radiant Slothz comes powering down the back straight, he's going to look to get past again. This time without having to go off the track, and he looks down the inside of the chicane and he just doesn't outbrake Hamilton or have a good line there. Not good enough to get through. As they come powering down towards turn 1, is he going to go around the outside of turn 1? No, he can't, and he runs wide again. Valtteri Bottas closes up. Lando Norris closes up as well. He's still tucked behind the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton with 4 laps to go. Incredible racing. Not much happening though in terms of overtaking. Just lots of chances to overtake being passed up. Zhou Guanyu has been overtaken by Lance Stroll, but someone else has dropped out of the top 10, which has allowed him to remain in 10th position as Radiant Slothz goes around the outside into the chicane. And he does get the move done on Lewis Hamilton there. Let's go on board and watch that one. Hamilton again putting the squeeze on Radiant Slothz. And Radiant Slothz returns the favour by overtaking with his car beyond the white line into the corner. As we go on board with Hamilton, he's forced over the curb. as Radiant Slothz took a very shallow line through there, which forced Hamilton to slow down a little bit as they come down through to turn 1. Again, we've got 2 laps to go as they cross the line. Lewis Hamilton is looking down the inside into turn 1 again, and he has got the move. It's going to come down to the wire between these two at this point. They come round turn 2 towards the first of the chicanes. Let's go aboard with Hamilton. Just carried so much speed through the corner there. It's hard for Radiant Slothz to counter anything like that. He's in a fast car, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite a Mercedes just yet as he looks to the outside to pull the same move again on Hamilton, and he does. Hamilton has no idea how to react to that. Radiant Slothz now powers down towards the hairpin as Lewis Hamilton comes under attack from his own teammate, who nearly rear-ends Radiant Slothz there. As they come onto the DRS straight, Lewis Hamilton remains ahead as Bottas presumably did make contact with the back of Radiant Slothz, or at the very least had to back out of the move to prevent an accident. And they're going to come round the final corners now. One more chance for Lewis Hamilton to try and get past Radiant Slothz. One more chance for Bottas to try and get past as Radiant Slothz puts the squeeze on Lewis Hamilton, gives him a taste of his own medicine. Manages to keep the position down towards turn 1. Looking down the leaderboard, Zhou Guanyu still holding position in P10. He's 4 attempts behind Lance Stroll, which is protecting him from Sebastian Vettel behind, who is within half a second as well. Luck must be sent to Zhou Guanyu. That'll be his first Drivers' Championship point if he can finish where he is right now. Lewis Hamilton unable to get within us. Get within overtaking range of Radiant Slothz as he drifts around the chicane. And this is it. This is the final countdown towards the finish line. Can Lewis Hamilton get past Radiant Slothz? He's going to be emptying the battery. They all will be emptying the battery. Hamilton 8 attempts back. We know from earlier on in the race that he was not able to get past from that far back until he got down into turn 1. Radiant Slothz carries as much speed as possible. Oh, he goes a little bit shaky there through the final corner, but he's managed to do it. And he's had a massive accident as he crosses the line. And Lando Norris is coming through. He hits the Radiant Racing car as well. Radiant Slothz, though, still able to drive the car. He must be okay and has somehow taken no damage whatsoever. Fernando Alonso picks up driver of the day. Starting from last, we'll see if he managed to make it into the top 14 in the moment, and we see the final results. But it's Radiant Racing with the win in Canada, I believe for the 2nd time in a row. And Radiant Slothz, very happy with that win. We'll be looking to pick up some more this season. He already had the win in Bahrain and Imola. So he's particularly happy with the start of this season, and will continue it as best that he can. Coming onto the podium, trying to start a fight with the officials. Although he has got partial sight issues and thought he was punching someone, it turned out to just be the crowd in the distance. So instead he sprays his engineer, Jeff, with some champagne, completely ignores Lewis Hamilton. That is a bit rude. Yeah, again, ignores Lewis Hamilton. Let's get on with the results. And here are the final results. As we can see, Radiant Slothz picks up maximum points here with the fastest lap as well by quite some margin over Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Further down the order, we have Lando Norris, Sergio Perez, Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz, Lance Stroll, and Zhou Guanyu picks up his first championship point. So over in the Drivers' Championship, Radiant Slothz remains at the top ahead of rival Valtteri Bottas. He's followed by Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris, then Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly, Charles Leclerc and Esteban Ocon rounding out the top 10. Further down the order we have Yuki Tsunoda just 1 point behind Ocon, then Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Zhou Guanyu, who actually does have his first championship point already, so apologies for that. Then the pointless drivers, George Russell, Mick Schumacher, Antonio Giovinazzi, Nicholas Latifi, Nikita Mazepin and Christian Lundgaard. And over in the Constructors' Championship, all the points are mattering right now. Mercedes ahead by a good 34 points over McLaren. McLaren just 2 points ahead of Radiant Racing, and Red Bull just 3 points behind them. The battle for second really heating up right now. They're followed by AlphaTauri, Ferrari, Alpine, Aston Martin, and the pointless teams Williams, Alfa Romeo, and Haas. We'll catch you in the next one.